Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, June 18th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over potential conference realignment with Texas State and the Pac-12. In this segment, we take a look at baseball. Around the horn, some big news with the Dodgers as well as the Washington Nationals. We'll talk about all of that in just a second, but before we do, a quick reminder, this is the final week of our podcast here. I will continue to do things over at the Triple Threat Show, but if you're looking for more GSMC Sports, you can find me over at YouTube at the Triple Threat Show. I will see you over there after Monday's final show. Regardless of all of that, though, we are going to be talking here about the world of baseball. Right now, we have a couple of big stories. Starting off with the biggest one, Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani made his Dodgers debut on the mound a couple of nights ago, went one inning, 28 pitches. He looked a little bit wild. He kept losing. He kept missing to the glove side and low. Almost hit a guy, was working some long counts, but the key with Shohei Ohtani here, his velocity was up. He hit 100.2 miles per hour on a pitch. He hit 99.8 miles per hour on a pitch. And when you have a guy coming back from Tommy John, not just one Tommy John, but his second Tommy John of his career, it is huge to see that he has that velocity there. Now, it was only for one inning. He gave up a run, 2 hits. One of those hits shouldn't have happened because he should have struck out Machado, but he gets out of that inning, and ultimately the Dodgers get a win in that game. He has 2 RBIs from behind the plate. His numbers are going to go down a little bit if he pitches, and there is a decline. There's a difference, but the decline is the difference between the MVP, the second best hitter in all of baseball behind Aaron Judge only, and being just a really good hitter, a guy that can go down as your best hitter on your team, but not necessarily going to win MVP awards. So if you're the Dodgers, you're still happy with whatever Shohei Ohtani puts out his product for you. But if he can get back on the mound, especially with the huge amount of injuries that the Dodgers have suffered, 14 injuries to their arms, split between the bullpen and the starting lineup, you get Shohei out there, it is going to work wonders for them. They needed him now. He also ran the gauntlet. He went up against Fernando Tatis his first at-bat, was able to get him to swing and miss at a couple of his stuff, which is huge. But Fernando Tatis is playing at an MVP level right now, maybe the most productive hitter in the NL behind Shohei Ohtani. Manny Machado, huge, right behind him. Xander Bogaerts, right behind him. Luis Arias, one of the best pure contact hitters in the sport, right behind him. That was not an easy lineup for him to go through and then turn around and face Dylan Cease. It wasn't an easy one, but he went out there and he had a huge game. Shohei Ohtani, if he can get back on the mound, if he can get back to what he was, which was a 3.0 ERA guy, a guy that struck out 170 people in 130 innings, over his career, he is going to be one of the greatest players in all of baseball. Now, if he doesn't get back to the mound, he's still going to be an amazing player. If he doesn't really return to form, which there's a chance he doesn't, coming back from not just one, but 2 Tommy Johns is a lot to ask for, especially in today's game when we're seeing pitcher injuries take a huge uptick due to all of the ideas around spin and velocity over placement and finesse. But it's tough. It's tough. It really is. I think Shohei Ohtani comes back out. He'll be just fine. It's going to be a lot more of these one-inning kind of starts for him as long as he's in the lineup every day. Doesn't really matter to the Dodgers or to me because it's fun to watch. It's must-watch television. On the other side of things, a team that is not doing so well, the Washington Nationals have lost 10 games in a row. And it's not just that they've lost 10 games in a row. All month, they have struggled offensively. They were just swept by the Miami Marlins. They have lost 2 straight games to the Rockies. They are in danger of getting swept by the Rockies tonight. Right now, it is currently tied at 0 in the bottom of the second, but it's a 4-game series. They've dropped 2. They have now lost 10 games in a row. 10 games in a row. And one of the reasons I'm talking about it, because the Nationals aren't going to make noise here, it's just the fact that A quote from one Davey Martinez, the manager. The media member went out and asked, hey, the offense has been struggling. Is that on the coaches? Is that on the players? And that is a tough question to answer, right? You don't know how to answer that question, but you have to be professional. Instead, what Davey Martinez says, and I quote, it's never on the coaches. It's not coaching. It's on the players. He just called out a young team. He said it's on you, it's never on the coaching. But if you are a Nationals fan, if you pay attention, that's not necessarily the truth. CJ Abrams and James Wood both have incredible seasons. They're doing their best, but Darnell Cole's the hitting coach, one of the worst in the league. The catching coach, one of the worst in the league, as the Nats once again have the worst qualified catching core, despite Kyber Ruiz still doing a good job. Davey Martinez doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. He throws his bullpen arms until their arms fall off. It's happened again. Brad Lord, a young guy, he's pitched every single game for the last week. It's not good. It is a mess over there in Washington. And despite them winning a championship with Davey Martinez in 2019, they're in the middle of a rebuild, and they need to be able to not throw their young players under the bus, even if they are struggling a little bit. But it's not on them. The coaching needs to make a change. It's something that's needed to change for a long time with that Washington Nationals organization, and it's not going to happen. Davey Martinez, I think, needs to go. A comment from YouTube from Jackrabbit73. He says the key with Shohei is to give him a pitch limit. He can throw as hard as he wants, but he has to have a hard limit or else he'll need another Tommy John and then will be unavailable as a hitter and a pitcher again. And I think you're absolutely right with that. I think it's going to be really crucial how they manage him. He was always going to be an opener when he came out and made his debut against the Padres. There was a chance I think he could have gone through the whole lineup one time, I think was their goal, but he struggled again. 28 pitches, long counts. The velocity was there, which was the key I was looking for. He said he wanted to throw 96, but he got excited, which is good. You can tell that he loves the mound, but it is something that you're going to have to work up. A lot of guys, they have their rehab starts down in AA. You can't do that with Shohei because of what he does with the bat. The current favorite to win MVP as a DH now 2 years in a row because of how valuable he is as a bat. You'd never see DHs win the MVP, let alone repeat as the MVP. If he can get out there, and even if he kind of works as a bullpen arm, right? Not necessarily a starter, but an opener that can get you 2 to 3 innings, throwing 100, getting those guys out. If you keep him in the lineup after that, it takes so much pressure off of a completely dismantled and injured bullpen and starting pitching room for the Dodgers. And the other key is they don't have to call anybody up or send anybody down because he's already on the roster. It's one of the most unique situations, and I'm worried because the Dodgers, they just don't know how to keep arms healthy, right? It's not a good situation for a guy like Shohei, who they need to be very careful with. They're going to push him as much as Shohei wants to be pushed while being as safe as they can. I don't know how it's going to go, but you're right, Jackrabbit. They absolutely do need to work on a pitch limit. I don't know what that number will be. They said he threw 45 pitches in simulated games. He got 28 in the real game, and obviously real game is a lot different than when you're throwing against a computer. And if you miss, it's not a big deal. He needs to work on his command a little bit, but that'll come. He's still working. He's still an MVP candidate. And as long as it doesn't take away from what he can do at the plate, Shohei Ohtani making his debut as a pitcher for the Dodgers is just a positive thing. But you do have to be very careful with what you do with him so that if he gets another arm injury, if he hurts himself pitching again, he never steps foot on that mound again. This really is his last chance. We've seen guys, I think Steven Strasburg is the one that pops into my mind. He had 2 Tommy John surgeries. He was able to lead the Nationals to that World Series in 2019, winning World Series MVP for what he did, his heroics over there. But he can't even do normal activities right now. His arm is completely destroyed. You need to be very careful. And again, that's a little bit on Davey Martinez. He doesn't know how to use the bullpen. He rode those starters for the entire run because they didn't have a bullpen. It is just a mess. Jack Rabbit also says because they need pitching. They need a better, healthier, stronger arm because all 3 heads of Japanese pitching dragon were hurt as of a week ago. Yeah, and it's not just that, right? They've got 14 pitchers on the IL, right? They've got 8 from the bullpen, 6 from the starter. Roki Sasaki is shut down for the rest of the season. He's been dealing with an injury ever since the World Baseball Classic, really. His velocity's been kind of down. Yamamoto, who started off super hot, dealing with an injury. You still have Blake Snell dealing with an injury. Clayton Kershaw dealing with an injury. You still have a lot more guys in that bullpen dealing with injuries. It is a mess, which is why they need Shohei. But they also need to be careful because if he signed that $700 million contract with them with the expectation that he is going to be a starting pitcher and a hitter, right? That's why they gave him that record-breaking amount of money. If he can't pitch again, if he gets one more injury, he's never pitching again. So they need to be very smart. They need to be very cautious with how they roll back in Shohei Ohtani. There is a right way to do this. And because they don't have that rehab start ability, it is going to be very, very tough. But you can't mismanage a $700 million asset and really survive as a coach, as a front office. Despite how good this team is, if he goes down again, if they're not being the most careful they possibly can be, that is a fireable offense. You cannot rush the guy that is going to be the cornerstone or is supposed to be the cornerstone of your franchise for the next 10 seasons to the mound if he's not ready. And that's just going to take some patience. It's going to take knowing when their body is ready. It's going to be a really tough medical situation to navigate, but if they do it well, everything should be just fine for the Dodgers. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. How much longer do you think it takes for Shohei Ohtani to be back on the mound full-time as a starter? I don't think he gets on until after the All-Star break at a minimum. I don't even think he really gets on as a full-time starting pitcher until the playoffs, really, maybe even later than that, maybe even next season. But do they fire Davey? Do the Nationals fire Davey Martinez? So many other questions. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the GSMC Sports Podcast. Again, sad news. This is the last week of our podcast. I will still be going live every single day, same time, different place at the Triple Threat Show, so you can find me over there on YouTube. Find stuff from college radio days 4 years ago. If you want to see me at my worst, go check that out. But we'll be there live starting next week. I'll see you here tomorrow to go over a potential closeout game in the NBA Finals and much more. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to